Hey, what's up, guys? We get a lot of questions about buffing and polishing the edges of the final Kydex piece that you're working on. I wanted to take the time. I had a minute. I was just about to get started finishing up this holster, and I wanted to take this opportunity to walk you through what works for us in terms of buffing and polishing these edges. Now, before I get started, I'm sure there are some of you out there who work with other crafts who know more about buffing and polishing than I do, specifically people who work with jewelry, and of course I'm always interested in hearing your feedback, but what we have going on today kind of works for us. If there's anything that we could be doing better, or if you have an area of expertise in which you want to share your knowledge, please feel free to do so, because we're always looking to make things better. So at this stage with the holster, I've already contoured and match sand the edges, and I've deburred and put the final I've gone over them with 600 grit. So if you come over here, you'll see that the edges are smooth and flush, but they don't have that bright, glossy, finished look that we're really looking for in terms of the fit and finish on the final piece. Before I show you the process and get into a little more detail, I'm going to show you what we're using here in terms of our setup. On this smaller unit, the first thing we do with anything is we use what's called a sisal wheel, which is a very hard and fibrous wheel, which is great for deburring as well as removing deeper gouges. You know, like you'll notice that if you use a coarser saw blade in your scroll saw, you'll see like the reciprocating cuts through the piece. This is great for taking that down, and any work pre-sanding. You know, for instance, once you come off the belt sander, you got all the burrs of plastic on there. This was great for taking those down and even putting like a little bevel in the edges. Even before I belt sand these, in terms of edge fit and finish, after I've contoured it, I'll go back over all the eyelets with the press again to make sure that none of them have loosened up as a result of being heated. Because if they do, what can happen is that as you belt sand it, the sander can actually force material in between the two seams, and you get an imperfect seam, which sometimes is really hard to avoid, and it always drives me crazy when it happens. So I try to take as many steps as I can to prevent that. So we start off with a sisal wheel, which is great for deburring the edges. And then we come over here, and this is a spiral wheel, spiral sewn wheel. And this is made out of cotton, but it's like a treated material, so it's extremely stiff. At this stage, this is the only part of this that we're putting any kind of compound on. Currently, we're using this black emery compound. Compound is just abrasive material that's been introduced into like a wax medium. So the friction from the buffing wheel melts the wax, transfers the abrasive material onto the wheel, and then allows you to finish the edge a little more aggressively. And then over here we have another spiral wound wheel, which is looser. This is also cotton, and this is this sometimes can leave like a little bit of a cloud. This is great for like blending the edges, and you can even get like a pretty good color being shine rather. And this is good for taking up any more of that cloudiness that might be left over. And then finally we have a very soft and loose spiral sewn wheel on this, which is just the last little cherry on top, icing on the cake. So when you're buffing, there are two basic motions. There's cut and color. The wheel's going to turn towards you, right? If you're buffing something up here and you slip, it's going to obviously shoot out towards you, so you want to buff as the wheel is coming down past you, so it's always pulling it away from you. So as the wheel rotates, I guess from our perspective here, counterclockwise, if you pull against the rotation of the wheel, that's called cut, and that introduces a lot more friction, especially if you use like a medium to strong force, and that will blend the edge very aggressively. You can also, if you're not careful, make the Kydex melt kind of aggressively and get like a weird texture on here. So you want to sort of use like a medium amount of force as you cut, and then color is the stroke that you use as you're going with the direction of the wheel, which puts a very high finish shine on it. So in this stage, using this guy, we're going to cut a little more than we color, and with these guys, we're going to color a little more than we cut. Another question that I get a lot of is that some people have a concern about the waxy medium of the compound transferring onto their finished piece, especially in terms of the brighter colors. Now, a quick fix for that is that you can use like a gun cleaner like Hoppe's, or like even something more aggressive like a brake clean to remove that from the Kydex. But just make sure that you rinse it thoroughly when you're done with that. Otherwise, you might get some sort of discoloration potentially on the Kydex if you use too aggressive a solvent. But this firmer wheel is much less likely to affect that kind of transfer. So what I'll show you, I'm even using the palest color that we use here, and you'll notice that we don't get a lot of discoloration on that at all. So the first thing you got to remember about using compound is a little bit goes a long way. So here we go. We're just going to get started here. I'm going to add a little compound to that, and what I'm going to do is you'll see right off the bat, see that the way you cut against there, you get a much shinier finish. So you go back and forth, cut and color. An aggressive wheel can even help you put a little bevel on the edge. We're already getting a really good shine. Be careful of these seams in here, because you can potentially get fibers from the wheel getting trapped in the seam of the holster, and that's a bit of a pain to correct. What you can see is we are getting a little bit of residue, but we'll be removing that throughout this multi-step process here. Come up here and do that top edge. You can see it comes up really nice. And now the brighter the colors are, typically the softer they are a little bit, so they're not only are they easier to sand, but they're easier to polish. And what I'm looking for here is like little cloudy spots like that, if you can see. And you can even see like a little bit of texture in there from the sanding process. But what I'm going to show you right now is if you cut aggressively, you can bring that right out. See, that texture's all gone. We've just got a little bit of cloudiness from the cut. Buff it up, and you've got a much more polished shine. So now we're going to come over here to our other wheel with no compound. We're going to go ahead and we're going to you can see already the kind of polish that we're getting on here. I'm going to address some of the smaller imperfections as we go. Work that bevel. And I'm only using a really light pressure here, because too heavy a pressure can give you like a funny texture on the edge as a result of excessive friction and everything. Let me come back over here a little bit and address that. So let's see if we can get a good picture of this here. So we've got a really high polish shine after just after 2 steps. You know, we've worked out We can use the buffing wheel to reduce any like small imperfections or nicks or gouges in the edge. We've obviously using one color at this point, they will look like one solid seam. However, this looks pretty well seamless, even given these contrasting colors. And now the final step, we're just going to come over here, put the icing on the cake with the softest wheel we have, with just a little gentle light pressure. I don't know if you can see it, but from my perspective, this already has like a really high quality gleam to it. So, here we go. A very shiny, smooth, well-matched edge. It's not that tough to achieve. As you can see, we don't have a lot of residue here left over. Only a very small amount of residue here left over from that first wheel, and that'll be easy to clean up. We might even be able to get that with some soap and water at this level. But yeah, that's buffing and polishing in a nutshell. If you have any good advice for us, obviously leave it in the comments, and if you have any questions, you can ask those as well. So thanks for watching, and good luck with your projects.